Archibald, and really excited to be with everyone today. We got an amazing show that we're going to be diving into and continuing the book, Reagan's new book. Um, for sorry, I'm trying to get this pulled up, but we are going to be continuing that process there. So really exciting. Before we dive in, want to get a little bit of insight on our Health Accelerator community. I was at we had our football game with some second graders that I was coaching, so I couldn't be on that last night. And so Reagan, I'm looking for some insight.
Last night was, you missed the best hack yet. And so I'm not even going to tell you because you weren't there.
I knew that was good.
Unless you guys won. Did you guys win the game?
No.
What? You went undefeated all season.
First loss of the year.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure there's tears shed, but all right. So last night it was on the end of life regrets. And so it's some interesting work. There's a palliative care nurse that documented the primary regrets that people have on their deathbed. And so we went through 5 of these. So number 1 is not having the courage to live the life you want to live because you're worried about the expectations others set on you. Number 2 was wishing you hadn't worked so much. And so long. Number 3, not giving yourself the space to express your feelings. Number 4, not connecting with friends enough. And then number 5, not choosing to be happier. And so the challenge was just to pick one of those, whatever one resonates with you, and say, man, I don't, if I get to the end of my life, I want to make sure I'm not, I'm learning from people who have passed on. And so take one of those challenges and start implementing it into your life. So whatever one of those resonates most with you, make an action plan around it. So that's it. That's what you missed.
Man, that sounds awesome. Well, awesome. Well, if you're not a part of our hack community, I challenge you guys to get involved on that. Go to acueastwest.com/HAC, stands for Health Accelerator Community Challenge Course, whatever you want to make that C. But we're so that is every Wednesday at 4:30 Mountain Time. Really cool community. Love it, and I'm sorry I missed it the last 2 weeks because of football, but we got playoffs next week, but that's just on Mondays, so we're good there. All right, well, our sponsor of the show today, The Smart Medicine. Head over to thesmartmedicine.com for any of your supplement needs, and check them out. Let's dive in. So I think if I remember right, we're somewhere. Where'd my document go? All right. Is it
right here?
14 is where we're at, and yeah, we just finished up protein, chapter 13, right? So
that was vegetables, yeah, but yeah. So yeah, we're going to be talking about fats. We're going to finish the book up today. We've spent a lot of time on this, and the cool thing about the journey that we've been on is it's reminding me of all the cool challenges that we went through in this 100-day fat burning challenge. But really, it was 100 days to maximize and optimize your health. And so this book, if there's one owner's manual I could have every single patient of ours read, it would be this. This would be the guide that can help give you the support you need to, basically put in some really good habits that aren't that hard, but that they move the leverage. So I think it was Archimedes, he said, give me a lever long enough and I can move the entire planet. That's all these things are. Everything that we're talking about are just little levers to give you progression in your health. And so we call it hacks because it's a health accelerator challenge. So once a week, Imagine having a community where you are working with like-minded people and everybody's looking for bypasses or shortcuts to maximize their health. And when I say a bypass or a shortcut, it means what are those things that are getting in your way, the roadblocks, and how can you bypass those roadblocks and move yourself to better health? And a lot of people don't realize that, how impactful sleep is. And we had a chapter on sleep, or how impactful hydration is, how impactful ice baths are, or breathing, or how impactful exercise is, or eating the right amount of proteins, having the right quantities and types of vegetables. And all these little hacks are going to move you towards a better version of yourself, a healthier version. And so today we're going to be talking about one of my favorites, which is fat. And so there's a lot of controversy around fat. And so we tried to just create a very open conversation around fats, proteins, carbohydrates, so that you can actually have the ability to say, well, I really can move into this direction because now I see the science. And there's not a one size fits all approach to this either. And with fats, it's no different. If you don't have a gallbladder, you're not going to digest fats as well as somebody who's got a healthy functioning liver and gallbladder. The other area where you may have challenges in fat digestion and fat absorption is if you're eating a lot of glyphosate, the GMOs, the things that turn off the genes that allow your body to absorb the fat soluble vitamins. So we're going to talk all about that today. So Cade, what are your thoughts about fat? What have you thought? What have you noticed you feel like when you've been eating the right fats?
Yeah, so this is when I was first introduced to this concept, I always felt like fat has such a negative connotation in I don't know if the right word society or in marketing or whatever, but I remember mom would always have skim milk, fat-free, everything, and that just made you feel like you were gonna be free from fat. And it's actually not extremely factual now that a lot of more insights are coming out on what fat does in our body. And so when I started consuming fat, especially like in coffee, that was a game changer for me. Just seemed like it really stabilized some of the whether it was jitters or just the caffeine. It just really helped stabilize my blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then getting my body running on fat as a fuel source as opposed to so much sugar. That was a big game changer for me. Just open up my brain, open up my better digestion, a lot better things overall. Started
Yeah.
swimming as well. For some reason I didn't put on more fat.
Yeah, there you go. And that's why we call it Eat Fat, Get Slim. That's the headline for this chapter. And the mindset is, while I've been taught the opposite for a long time, it's safe and great to eat different forms of healthy fat. So let's jump into some of the cool science behind fat. So first of all, there's things you want to avoid no matter what. And if you're eating these types of food with fat, you're going to have it's a contraindication. So you're going to have a poor outcome from eating fats if you have added refined and added sugars. If you're using bleached or refined flours, if you're using industrial plant oils like canola, sunflower, safflower, corn, and soy, and then any artificial ingredients. And then you want to be very careful with the types of gluten you're eating, the types of dairy, and soy and corn and peanuts. All these things can create more inflammation in the body. And so in this book, we did send everyone on a sugar challenge. And so, those are some things that hopefully you went through that sugar challenge. But fats, once you've gotten rid of the things that are going to do damage to your body, now you can start adding in the things that are going to be really healthy. So the very first step when you're adding in healthy fats, which is ironic because you guys are like, I thought we were going to talk about fats. Well, let's talk about what you got to remove first, which are sugars. Because anytime you combine sugars and fats, then you're going to get triglycerides. and the triglycerides elevation is what leads to fatty liver disease. And then you can't absorb and digest fats. So one of the studies that we mentioned in the book is the study where people, when given 75 to 100 grams of a sugar solution, and then they tested the lymphocytes in the which is an immune response in the participants in the study, they found that there was a 50% drop in white blood cells for up to 4 hours. So, and Kate, we've talked about this one quite a bit, but if we looked at the amount of the population that is walking around with, only 50% of their immune system functional, I mean, that would probably be like, what, 60%? What would be your guess?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so the sugar puts your immune system in a temporary coma. And so this was noticed directly for, I guess even evident after 5 hours is what the research says. So even longer than 4. So if you're eating sugar in the morning, like a lot of our kids are eating sugar cereal or some kind of like sugary pancakes or waffles. By the way, I love pancakes and waffles. And there's some great monk fruit maple syrup that's got no sugar in it. That's awesome. My kids love it. And so you can do that. You can make keto type waffles or paleo type waffles where they can actually have some great sources of protein and fats in them. So there's ways of circumventing this, which is what the Health Accelerator course is all about. That entire curriculum will help give you the tools that you need to have the substitutes, but to still, kind of enjoy life and enjoy what you're eating. But most of us, kids eat something sugary and then they get to school and then at lunch they're eating something sugary. And so their immune system just weak all day long. And adults are no different. And I find many adults are even worse because then you add the stress on top of it and their blood sugar is just wrecked, which is one of the reasons why we can't seem to find an end to the current pandemic. It's just I think a big thing that we could do is just let's get rid of sugar.
Yeah, there's an idea.
Yeah. So so it's kind of interesting because if you remove sugar, you give your liver a break, you calm down the inflammation in your body, and now you can start thinking about getting the right sources of fats in. And so, one of the things that we found is that if you can eat the right sources of fat, you mentioned this, Cade, but you're going to have more stabilized energy. You're not going to get the big spikes in energy, then the big drop. Your energy is going to be stable. The other thing that we find is we're going to see a nice improvement for those people who have blood sugar dysregulation, like diabetes or hypoglycemia. And then I even find with fats, my cardiovascular function is so much better if I have more focused on like using ketones as an energy source versus sugar. I just find my oxygen capacity is so much better. Have you noticed that too, Cade?
Nice. Well, I can't remember specifically if I've noticed it from fat, but I know if I've eaten a lot of sugar, my oxygen capacity is like 0.
Yeah.
Get winded so quick and easy. So yeah, I have just more on the negative effects is where I notice it.
Yeah, and you feel it, your lungs get all phlegmy and you just don't feel as good on sugar. So the chapter about fats is interesting because so many of us, we have this food carb addiction or sedentary lifestyle syndrome, and eating these sugars actually causes inflammation in your brain. And so we have this overabundance of these kind of polysaturated or polyunsaturated fats, the omega-6s, which are found in the industrial oils. And I can't believe how many like restaurants that I go to that they claim to be healthy. And then I go to these restaurants and I look in the back. And so do yourself a favor next time you're going to eat, ask them what kinds of oils they use, or just look over the counter and you can see that they're using caro oil or they're using some type of cottonseed oil, some type of plant oil. And those things are actually going to create a lot of inflammation in your body, even if everything's like, even if they're saying it's keto friendly or gluten free, or whatever the terms are, vegan. You want to avoid these plant oils because they're going to inflame everything. And then the fats that you're trying to get, which we need more omega-3s, those aren't going to be absorbed as well. So then you don't get the anti-inflammatory benefits. So the challenge,
So
figure out what kinds of fats, what kind of oil food's being cooked in.
nice. I think that's that's really interesting. I never thought to try to look over the counter or even ask. Just try to avoid. But that is that's smart.
Well, because,
we had
oh, go ahead.
we had a question come in on oh, we got someone that wants to get the book. Do we have any updates on the Amazon link? So right now it's Kindle only in the US at least.
In the US, yeah. And this is, I've been on the phone with Amazon, I think 6 times now. So each time is about an hour. I'm just trying to fix the link. My publishers tried to get involved, but it's got to be through me. And so I apologize. We're working on that, and we still are waiting on the technical team to get it resolved. So it's escalated. We will get it out to you guys as soon as possible. And I promise we're not just building up anticipation. This probably seems like some crazy marketing thing, but we're not that smart. But hopefully you guys get ready and just, keep sending your emails, because I know so many of you have reached out. Hey, when's the book going to be ready? Can you send the link? But we will get that to you. And then we do have a few copies in the office, but it doesn't have the spine. It's just kind of some preliminary copies. So if push comes to shove, we can absolutely give you one of those books if it gets down to the wire. So, but hang tight, we're going to get you there.
Awesome. Yeah, and this is a great Christmas gift. I think when you look at, if you just take each of these challenges, man, it can be transformational for anyone in this. So love it.
Awesome. So let's talk about fat and why it's important. So one of the things that we can look at is the coolest organ in our body, arguably, is your brain. And some days my brain doesn't feel like the coolest organ. Sometimes it does. Hopefully yours feels amazing today. But your brain is made up of 57% fat, 38% protein, and contains very little carbohydrate, maybe like 5%. And so our brains naturally grew up and evolved in this low glycemic index environment. So we weren't eating the sugars and the fruits all the time. I mean, we had fruits occasionally. You'd stumble across a fruit producing tree and you'd have a lot of that. But right now we have focused so much of our attention on the carbohydrates because our brains are hardwired for the quick energy. So the sugars are what our brains love, sugars and salts. And so unfortunately, we've given ourselves access to so many of those through modern farming and modern technology. I mean, we're out in the fields now slaving away versus, hunting, animals. And so one of the things that's happened is this distribution, I'd call it a misdistribution of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates have led us down the road of a lot of chronic disease. And so what people don't realize also is cholesterol, about 57% of your brain being the fat, a quarter of that is cholesterol. So your brain, if you don't have enough cholesterol, your brain's going to be dead in the water. It's not going to function because what the cholesterol does, specifically the LDL particles, is it transports nutrients from your blood into your brain. And so that's a pretty important key because, Kate, I guess if you look at cholesterol, the big notion out there is the lower your cholesterol, the better, right?
Yes. And I don't know if anyone ever saw me throw my hands up in excitement, but the link is working. It just got posted in the chat box, and we got the paperback on Amazon. So go there, grab your book.
Holy cow. I just clicked on it. You're right. It is working.
Woo!
That
Thank
is,
you. Shawnee just posted that. Thank you, Shawnee. We are live. We're in action now, Reagan. Is that a huge relief?
that's a massive relief. I looked last night. It still wasn't there. I haven't checked my email since last night. So maybe it showed up, but man, I'm so glad. So get the book. You can purchase it right now. We just really appreciate that. And then the other thing that we'll do right now, and we need to do it for all the clinics, Kate, is we're going to order the author copies, and so we'll have those in the clinic. So then you guys can purchase the gift. And if you want to purchase our $30 package, which is the book and then the consultation, and they can choose between an acupuncture and a chiro treatment, just let us know. And if you want to purchase the book on Amazon out of ease, then we'll just take off the $15 and you can purchase the rest through the clinic. So, so just let us know on that too. We've got those gift cards in. So what a cool day. We did it.
Yeah.
We did it. Day 4 talking about the book, and now we actually have it live. So, and for those of you who are listening on our podcast, we'll include a link in the show notes. So you can go ahead and get your own copy. So great. Well, good. And if you can think of someone to give it to, we'd really appreciate that too. Gift it this Christmas. I think gift of health is phenomenal. So, all right. So fats, we'll get back to it. So cool thing about fats is they're satiating. And so if you think about it, and I don't know how many of you have actually tried a diet where you leaned into the healthy fats a little more, and maybe you ate more proteins and more fats. And this is one of the experiments I've done this year is I read the carnivore diet book by Paul Saladino. And after reading that, I was like, okay, I've got to try this carnivore diet, because I've had so many patients who've come and experienced amazing transformations on it. Even our patients on the SIBO cleanse, when we're getting them off of the elemental diet, they go to the low FODMAP, and it's just easier to tell them just eat meat while your gut resets. But that's been a phenomenal thing, because just being on those meats really helps stabilize the blood sugar. And actually, it's a simpler way to eat. And Kate, you did the caveman diet for, I think you did a 30-day reset, or how long did you do it for?
Yeah, I'm still, like, when I go to your house, I get jacked up because Jess makes like the most amazing bread. And yes, that is my weakness.
I think you ate a loaf the other night. You're like hurting.
No, I felt fine with it. It's just like really good, clean flour and everything. But anyways, yeah, it's been about 30, it's been about 35 days. Minus like a few little cheats here and there, but yeah, it's felt amazing. I've also been doing the Tesmarelin, Ipamarelin with it. I'm starting to get a little more cut up.
Yeah, you're looking good. Cade
Yeah.
was doing burpees, and he was like Superman. He's like floating up and down on his burpees. It was impressive. We did that workout Tuesday morning.
Yeah, that was a good workout.
Yes. Yes. So Ruth said, Ruth ordered. Oh, good. We got people ordering it. Yay. Thank you. Ann and I are, we spent a lot of time on this beast. And so really appreciate that. Now I can gift the book instead of trying to tell people, now they can just read it. So this is great. Awesome. All right.
And we will, just to give everybody some insight, Reagan mentioned the gift bag. Like it's set up as you can give it as a gift, the book, as well as an acupuncture or chiropractic treatment, exam, and depending on if it's needed, we can do an x-ray with it as well, for $30. So like super high value there, and we'll have those in the clinic starting next week. That'll be kind of a Black Friday special coming on up. In fact, yeah, we won't be here next week probably. I'm assuming it's Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. We'll have a little break, and then we actually have a really cool guest that's going to be on in December. So we'll start bringing on some more guests coming up here. So yay.
Very nice. Oh, Judy asked burpees. So a burpee is like you drop down to your chest, jump up in the air, drop down. So it's like up downs. It's a nice. You do like 10 or 15 of those, and you are gassed if you do them hard.
I
Awesome.
love the burpees. Any other comments coming in?
Just some faces.
I want to see you guys do your burpees. Come on. Awesome. All right. So imagine not having sugar cravings. This is the big thing I notice when people do. Well, Kate, you're doing a double whammy, and this is ideal. And you look great, by the way. Things are looking solid. So, but if you do the 5-amino-1-MQ, you got the tesamorelin, ipamarelin, you're not going to be craving any of the junk. And then if you're eating more of a diet that matches the profile of your brain, you're not going to be chasing around food all day. You can actually focus on things that are more important. I find that a lot of us, one of the reasons why we snack so much is because we never actually feel the fat reserves in our brain. And so today, as you think about this, how many of you could maybe add some healthier fats? What Anne says is she found that if she just added like a tablespoon of nut butter, that helped. Even if you're on a low restriction diet, low calorie diet, you can actually add in some fats, and that helps satiate your body. The thing that you want to do as you start becoming more fat adapted is you have to stay hydrated, which one of the reasons in the book is people are like, well, you're such a big fat proponent. Why was the fat challenge one of the last in the 100 days? Because it's a 100-day transformation that we take our patients through and our members through in the Health Accelerator course. But they're like, why did you wait till the very end? And it said, well, you've got to get your body prepared before you can just start throwing fats in it. Otherwise, if you can't absorb and emulsify the fats properly, it's going to do you more harm than good. You can end up with yeast overgrowth. You can end up having issues with your pancreas, puts a lot of burden on your liver as well. So make sure you're prepared for this. And that's where every challenge that we did led up to this, so that now your body, you've got this beautiful process where you can absorb the fats appropriately. So high quality fats, you're going to get all of your vitamin A, D, E, and K, and then you get all the micronutrients too. And so this is one of the most important things, because fats also helps you create hormones. And so if you notice that your sex hormones are dwindling and you're going into menopause, well, one of the worst things you can do is just go on a straight vegetarian diet. Now, if you need to do the liver cleanse, that's fine. That's a 2-week cleanse, but you really want to steer into healthier fats as we get older. And especially as our hormones start to wane, the fats become that much more critical. And I've certainly noticed that the older I get, and I've seen this in patients who have infertility issues, we get them on healthy fats, and they get pregnant, a little healthy fat, some gonadorelin, some kispectin, and things get stabilized in their hormonal cycle, and they feel amazing. So yeah, even hormones are influenced by fats. Blood sugar. Blood sugar is fat slows the absorption of carbohydrates. So the beautiful thing, there's a study, it's called The Effect of Dietary Fat on Blood Sugar Levels and Insulin Consumption After Intakes of Various Carbohydrate Carriers in Type 1 Diabetes on the Artificial Pancreas. And what they found is that if you aren't keeping your blood sugar stable, you're going to have high cortisol levels in your body, which leads to greater spikes in blood sugar. So making sure that, once again, the carbohydrates and the high sugar consumption is stressful for the body. Not only is it hard on your blood sugar, but it also increases cortisol. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it, Cade? Because cortisol, I guess, what would you say are some of the cool things that our members can do to stabilize their cortisol?
Yeah, well, I think getting some good fats is one of them.
Yeah.
really, if your cortisol is out of balance, having, there's different types of movement exercise that you can do at certain times of the day. That's probably one of the most insightful things I learned is someone's cortisol is really off. You have some things there. There's also some really good herbs, some adaptogenic herbs that can help with stabilizing that. But fats is probably where I'd first start, and that's you talked about grazing or being snacky all the time. That's one of the biggest things I notice is when I can be really good at getting good fats in the morning. Um, some decent amount of butter. If I eat a couple eggs, my like throughout the day my cravings are very minimal. As soon as I take like a little bit of sugar or something starchy or carb loaded, man, I'm like hungry all day.
Yeah.
It's crazy how your body just switches it. Like fats can be extremely satiating. Your brain just feels alive and awake and ready to go. I there is a little. So the one thing that's important to know is when you're doing this transition. Say you're a big carb person eating large amounts of carbs, and that's your primary source is sugar as an energy, and you switch over. There is like a 3 to 5 day period that is just brutal to go. I wouldn't say brutal, but you're gonna feel a little bit rough as you're going through that transition of just like it takes a little bit of planning and willpower on that side, but
Yeah,
it's well worth it on the other side.
absolutely. So here's a study on almonds. And what they found is they gave the groups the same amount of calories, so two groups, and one group got to eat almonds, the other group didn't. And what they found is 23 almonds actually helped them burn fat. And so that's a cool thing. Now, if you have a thyroid condition, there's an acid in almonds that can actually downregulate the conversion of T4 into T3. So don't overdo it on almonds. But almonds can be another way. And I think it was just the healthy fats they got. How about the egg yolk? So many of us have been taught that the egg yolk has cholesterol in it. Oh, no. But actually, there's so many studies, and we reference at least 3 studies. And those are just some like very simple. You can find thousands of studies. But just by eating the egg yolks, actually, studies show that they can actually lower your cholesterol because 80% of the cholesterol that shows up in your blood is made from your liver. And eggs are also really high in choline, which is really good for the brain, especially if you're taking any nootropics. So you want the choline because that helps lay down the long-term memory with the acetylcholine. And so choline is also found in lean meats, seafood, collard greens, and it also keeps your body from putting in fat into your liver. So you won't get ascites as much, and you won't get the fatty liver disease by eating eggs. So, and then Anne mentions my little hack, which is cooking eggs with butter in a waffle maker. So those are pretty good, right, kid? You like to mix yours up and get an even distribution. Or do you still do it that way?
I've stopped doing it that way. They got so like puffy. I just don't like it, and I like to have a little bit of like a softer yolk.
Yeah.
So it made it yeah, when you mix it all up, it just makes it super fluffy, and you don't get the soft yellow yolk. So I stopped doing that, but yeah, my kids love that. Like Olive, she'll eat like 2 or 3 eggs in the morning just with that, like the little waffle iron. So you guys
Yeah.
got it. You can buy those waffle irons for like $10 or $15 on Amazon. They're like this big, and they make a perfect egg. You put one single egg in there, put it in, like put some anti-stick with. I use like an avocado oil based anti-stick thing, and then and when it's done, slather it in butter, put a little salt
Mhm.
and pepper on there. It is golden, so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and we got some questions coming in. So, hey, Diane, will there ever be an Audible book? Yes, there will be an Audible book. I've got to carve out the time where, in order to turn it into an Audible book, the sound has to be pristine. So that means I have to lock myself in a sound box for about. I bet this book would take 5 hours to get it to get it all recorded, and then there's the breaks in between. So it's a full day of lockdown. So yes, we will have it an Audible book. And then Ruth says, make sure almonds are steam pasteurized, not fumigated. All almonds in the States must be one or the other. That's a brilliant insight on the almonds. And then organic raw almonds are the best, and especially if you can soak them overnight. And then that's coming from me. And then egg yolks, of course. So yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Ruth, for the insights there. All right, so get some eggs. How about olive oil? Well, olive oil has adiponectin in it, and that's a hormone responsible for breaking down fats in the body. So you ever been to Italy or Greece or anywhere in the Mediterranean area, and you see that they actually eat a lot of food. But the cool thing about being in Italy is every little town you go to, they have their own olive oil, they have their own wine, they have their own pasta dish, and they have their own meat dish. It's like they just they do things really well. And so olive oil can be one of the reasons why, in Europe, they're a lot skinnier than we are. And there's a lot less obesity. And so I think a big point of that is the olive oil, but be careful with the olive oil, because a lot of olive oils are mislabeled, misrepresented, and they have peanut oil in with the olive oil. So yeah, you don't always get that 100% pure organic extra virgin olive oil. So the reference that we put in here, and by the way, Anne just put this book chock full of references, but this is about oliveoil.org will let you know what brands are going to be reputable. So don't just buy any olive oil. Make sure you've got the right stuff. Cade, coconuts. You love coconut.
I'm cuckoo for coconuts.
Yeah, and so coconuts are great because they have the MCT oil, but they also can combat and kill yeast. They can kill certain forms of bacteria. And coconuts is just tasty. Not only does it have a nice sweet tropical flavor to it, but it can actually reduce abdominal fat. So once again, we're talking about ways to burn fat, and it's weird when you're like, yeah, just eat more fat and you're going to get slim. So that's why we titled it "Eat Fat, Get Slim," because even adding in some coconuts can really be tasty for you and great for the burning off the belly fat. How about avocados? How many avocados a day do you and your kids eat, Cade?
Man, it seems like we go through like trends. So right now, maybe a few less, but it's usually like we'll go through, if we get them at Costco, we'll go through one of those bags at least in like 4 or 5 days. So it's at least like two a day. One.
Yes. Which is great, right? I mean, they're so good for you.
Yeah.
So avocados loaded in monounsaturated fats. The large avocados can have up to 30 grams. The normal size is 21. And put in here about my comment on dogs. My dogs in Hawaii used to just eat avocados that would fall off the tree. And my dog Asia had the most gorgeous hair. I mean, it was just amazing what the avocados did. And then when we moved to Utah, her hair, the sheen on it, just like it wasn't nearly as shiny, wasn't as soft, because she didn't have avocados to munch on all day. So but yeah, avocados also help you sleep better. There's some tryptophan in it, and you can put it on just about anything.
Would she eat the pit and everything, or would she spit the pit out?
Nah, they chew on it a little bit, but they would just eat the flesh of the avocado, the fruit of it.
Nice.
All right, butter. You guys know we're big fans of butter here, and especially organic butter. This is going to be amazing for not only your heart, cardiovascular system, but it's also really good for your brain. And we talk about Eisenhower and Ansel Keys, and there's some history of butter and how it got vilified. And then we brought in margarine. And the funny thing is, every dietary, like the diet pyramid, everything we've ever tried as a society, there's so much money in the big food industry complex, just like there is in big pharma, and their marketing, they can make government policy, and then you put that in the kids' schools, and now you've got the marketing that's going towards these foods that are so unhealthy. But because of, it all started in the 1950s. Actually, it was 1961 when Ansel Keys brought back this idea that it was fat that was causing heart attacks. And that's what Eisenhower went on, who was president at the time. And his health just went downhill. And then the health of our country has gone downhill since then. So, it's taken 20 years nearly to start reversing this trend, but get some butter. They're so good for you. Watch out for the bad fats. So, Kate, what would you say bad fats are? Or unhealthy fats?
Yeah, so some of your trans fatty acids, your omega-6s are typically not going to be the most ideal, or at least too many of them. But yeah, when the fat's really been like overcooked, overheated, that's when you can change that chemistry. So yeah, like butter, that's why, like, ideally you'd cook the egg, don't put any butter on it. Once it's cooked, then put the butter on it. It melts really nice and cleanly. Yeah, when you're cooking in certain fats, it can cause some problems, especially if they have a low tolerance for heat.
Yes. Yeah, so watch out for a lot of these. And here's a study we link in this. It says America's most widely consumed oil causes genetic changes in the brain. Soybean oil linked to metabolic and neurological changes in mice. So literally these oils are causing inflammation in the brain and not the best changes. So, and Bev says butter, Kerrygold butter is on sale for $2. Oh, this month. Kerrygold organic. Diane says, I know you said coconuts were great for you. How about eating a tablespoon or two of coconut oil a day? I think that's awesome. Yes. And Bev, just to be clear, that's at Natural Grocers. Thanks, Bev. So go to Natural Grocers, you can get some butter on the cheap. That's like half price. That's amazing. All right. So we talk about ketones and how to digest the fats. There's so many things in this chapter, but the challenge is to aim for about 120 grams of good, healthy fats every single day. And then, make sure you work with us if you've got gallbladder issues, digestive health. And then we talk about some peptides you can include. Cade mentioned his stack, which is a really good one, tesamorelin with Ipamarelin. The other one that we talked about was 5-amino-1-MQ. You can also use MOD-SC in combination, but the peptide that we highlighted in this chapter was AOD 9604. And this helps prevent lipogenesis, the fat accumulation, and triggers lipolysis, which is fat burning. And it helps with those stubborn areas. And so as I'm wrote about this, I said, yeah, we see about an average of 10 pounds on this peptide when a person's following kind of the hacks that we've outlined in Never Stop Healing. So, all right. So that was chapter 14. So let's jump into 15 and then we'll wrap this thing up. So 15 is kind of fun because it's a bonus chapter. And this one's called The Barely Known Secret of Peptides to Expand Your Health, because it's still so unknown that there's so many great medicines out there. I remember when we started talking about stem cell health and really maximizing that, nobody had any insights on it. And then we've used nootropics and peptides, these innovative medicines, it's so challenging for the medical profession, whether they're in natural medicine or conventional medicine, it's so difficult for us to think out of the box, because as natural practitioners, Cade, we want to pigeonhole ourselves to, well, Chinese herbs, right? Or supplements. And then when you start introducing nootropics and peptides, and there's molecules that are, they mimic what the body is producing. Sometimes we get concerned about that because we just don't know. We don't spend the time studying it. Even our own providers at the clinics, have stumbled over really embracing it. And so, but what we found is they're phenomenal. And so what I did is I put a bonus chapter in here, and it's about upgrading your health with peptides. And so before we jump into this, it looks like, do we have some comments coming in, Cade?
Yeah, well, Bev was just specifying where you could get that Kerrygold at natural grocers, and then is sun butter with nothing in it okay?
Yeah, sun butter's great. I mean, even if it has some salt in there, it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Love the sun butter.
on celery, beautiful,
Spread it on celery. That's the best.
beautiful. Well, let's dive in on this peptide chapter. I haven't had a chance to read through this chapter.
Yeah, so peptides, how many of you are using peptides and have noticed a huge boost? I mean, I know Cade has, I have, we've seen hundreds of our patients just, where we've been stuck, or we, couldn't get their health to the next level. What peptides do is they go in and they turn on genetic expressions. And so these are naturally occurring biological molecules, and peptides are put together like sequences of amino acids. So almost like a puzzle piece, or even like an app, on a computer, you have to code in certain messages to get an expression. And so all peptides do is they are the communication link between your cells and your organs, or from cell to cell. But peptides, if you have the proper expression of peptides in your body, you're going to have genes that express health, and then you're going to turn off genes that express disease. And so the thing I love about peptides is it's a way that we can re-engineer the DNA in your cells. So if you think about true cellular health, it comes at its core is by having the proper expression of peptides. And the reason we put this chapter at the end, once again with fats, is because once you have all the lifestyles in place, then you get a maximum benefit from peptides. So these peptides, they're naturally occurring. They have 50 or fewer amino acid chains. Anything over that, it becomes a protein. And so we're going to go through, and I just share kind of an overview of some of my favorite peptides. And this is where we've created a program specifically for doctors. It's called the Peptide Advantage Program. We take them through, and we've interviewed some of the world's leading researchers in peptide therapy. We talk about the advantages, some of the protocols. So many of our doctors are in this. We've got about 120 in our group, and a good over 50% are in the peptide course. And so that's been a fun course. And maybe you could talk a little bit more about it, Cade, for the providers who listen to this.
Yeah, it just takes you through. There's kind of five major modules on each of the different components where peptides can help. So you have your immune function, and on that component, you have your weight loss, fat reducing peptides. You have your regenerative and more building and growing peptides for pain, and then you also have some of your longevity peptides. And so we go through kind of each one of those components and break them down, and have specific ways of how to help your patients increase there. Had a good question from Joan come in, Regan, on so she's been on thymosin alpha 1. Now that it's been taken off the market, what is a good replacement?
So thymosin alpha 1 is one of the thymulin peptides, and there's 7 of those. The one we've been using in its place is called ABP7. And it's called ABP7 because it's an antibacterial peptide. That's ABP. And 7 is, there's numbers and there's sequences of the amino acids, but it's just like thymosin alpha 1, it creates better intelligence in your lymphocytes and in your neutrophils. So ABP I've had some pharmacists tell me they like it more than thymosin alpha 1. So ABP 7 is a great one if you're looking to boost your immune system. And Joan's, she's done great with so many of these peptides too. So appreciate you asking about that. That's a great question. So one of the peptides, and I will get to thymosin alpha 1, and hopefully that will be back on soon. You can get it as a pharmaceutical prescription. It's called Zidazine. But once again, the FDA, they came in and some of these peptides have been taken up by the pharmaceutical industry. And so Zidazine is indicated for hepatitis C, treatment-resistant hepatitis C, different viral infections, and treatment-resistant viral infections. It received orphan drug status, I think about 10 years ago. So it's a well-known peptide. Selank's another one that it's used as an anxiolytic. We think of Selank as a way of calming the brain because it expresses the gene for your GABA neurotransmitter. So patients who overeat, consume too much alcohol, or just are looking to improve emotional health, Selank is great. And not only that, Selank has antiviral properties. And so one study showed that it stopped the replication of the influenza virus when patients used it intranasally. And so this has been another peptide that we use with COVID because so many people are getting, impacted by it. So using Selank on a regular basis will keep some of the viral replication happening in the nasal passages is the thought behind it, but it seems to be very effective. Thymosin alpha 1, this is what Joan was talking about. And so thymosin alpha 1 is one of the best ways to ignite the thymus gland in your lungs, and as you breathe deeper, that triggers it. And I talk about the thymus gland, how it shrinks as we age. And so one of the things you can do are these great thymic peptides. And I talk about them here: thymosin alpha 1, thymulin, thymosin beta 4, or actin binding potential 7. Those are other ways too that you can get it. And the other term for ABP is the antibacterial peptide. So yes, then we get into the CJC, IGF-1, CJC 1295, Ipamarelin. And this is a great peptide. Kate, there's one little side effect that can come from this one. What do people need to watch out for if they're on this?
Yeah, so CJC 1295, I actually quite enjoy it, but some people don't. But there is and there's a small percentage that can go even worse than if you take too high of amount of it. It can cause it causes this flushing kind of, you just feel that flush, maybe similar to a niacin flush, but probably a little hotter, a little heavier. It's typically pretty short lasting. But we've had two instances. My wife where it was probably she had a little bit extra reaction. Got like hands. We had to get some Benadryl because it was almost to the point of like some anaphylaxis. So make sure you're smart with the CJC 1295. Don't make sure you're not overusing it in your injections. And then also it can, like we notice some people, it creates a lot of welts. So there's some other alternatives. I still love it.
Yeah, but you can use that or tesamorelin. But man, just watch for the light flushing. But once you use it about 3 times, it goes away. But man, this is powerful. This is one of our all-time most popular peptides. Thymosin beta 4 is another one, and this helps increase post-workout muscle soreness. It improves it. It helps with longevity and energy. You can also use TB4 frag. So integrated peptides, good friend and colleague Kent Holtorf, he created the frag and you can take this orally. DSIP, this is a deep sleep inducing peptide or delta sleep inducing peptide, depending on how you how you phrase it. So it can help with sleep. We talk about the peptide for hydration and kidneys, which is ARA 290. So if you have any issues balancing the electrolytes or even stabilizing triglycerides or hemoglobin A1C or cholesterol, this peptide is phenomenal for that. And we include the studies. And then we say, okay, here's some peptides you can help that mimics cold therapy. So if you don't like the cold showers, we're jumping in ice baths, and try Sarcotropin Ipamarelin. And this is an oral one. I actually took it today. And it's got a bunch of different things for the brain, but it also helps with sarcopenia, which is when you have a loss of muscle mass and a decrease of circulation into the muscle tissue. Epitalin, this is the major peptide that we write about here that helps reset your circadian rhythms. And it's a longevity peptide. And then we jump into Cade's favorite, tesamorelin. It's 44 chained amino acids, helps you burn belly fat, helps decrease fibrosis of the liver. It also helps send signals of improving growth hormone. So powerful one there. And then the Wolverine peptide is BPC 157, heals the endothelial gland, leaky gut. That's one of my favorites. So then we kind of round it off by talking about Mod-SC, which promotes longevity as well. It helps boost the skeletal muscle tissue. It helps improve insulin sensitivity. And I know many of you have had great experiences on Mod-SC. KPV, it's a tripeptide, another one that helps heal leaky gut, and it eradicates any infections that comes from improper digestion of your fats. Remember, we talked about that earlier, Cade. So when you're starting on the fat adapted diet, get on the KPB peptide, and then 5-amino-1-MQ. So those are some of the fats, some of the peptides you can use. We talked about fats today. We did it. We came to the end. So you guys have, if you just got on this show, obviously go ahead 3 shows, because we did 4 total shows on Never Stop Healing. The book is live. It's available on Amazon. This has been a 1.5 year long project that's now come to fruition. So I'd love it if you guys give me a review. Get on Amazon, give us a review. Give us a review on the podcast too. We'd love that. But let me know how you like the book. And if you want to get one in the clinic, then just call the Salt Lake office, 801-582-2011. And we'll get that to you. Or if you're any of the other offices, we'll have books there very shortly as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We will be back in 2 weeks right now from today. So we'll be back because we got Thanksgiving next Thursday. So we'll be back the following Thursday for the next podcast. So we look forward to seeing you guys all there. We'll be diving into some new topics. We got a new guest coming on. Don't forget about our sponsor of the show, thesmartmedicine.com. Go over there. Check out some of the amazing supplements at thesmartmedicine.com. And thank you guys for joining us. Go to Amazon, pick up Never Stop Healing by Regan Archibald and Ann Marked. Amazing book. Really excited about that. And then be looking for the new the gift bag that will include that book in the clinic as well. We'll have that available starting next week, kind of mid next week. So love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.